Greetings and welcome. My name is Mike Bankhead. I am your host. I am a bass player and songwriter from the Gem City, Dayton, Ohio. I hope that you're not tired of interesting, talented, and likable people. Because if you don't want to hear about people like that, then you should probably keep right on going. Otherwise, stick around and listen to the You Could Be My Aramis podcast. My guest today is Brenda Carsey, a singer-songwriter from California. You'll hear exactly what that term means to her in this conversation, and we go on a long tangent about food. Yeah, here we go. Hey there, Brenda. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
You feeling okay?
I'm feeling good. Was sick like 2 weeks ago over Thanksgiving, like everyone else seems to have been.
That's no fun.
Yeah, but we're on the mends. It's just a beautiful lingering thing now.
Well, sometimes they linger. You live in California.
I do.
That's very far from here. I live in Ohio, as you know.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. First of all, I want to tell the listeners how I met you. So I was in California for some training for my non-music gig. And I have a dear friend out there named Bree, and Bree takes me to an open mic because this is part of Bree's weekly thing that they do as a musician in their community. And I'm like, hey, yeah, I'll go do anything as long as it doesn't interfere with my training classes. And I go to this open mic, and Brenda, you are the person who is the official host. You keep the thing running.
Oh, yeah. Tight. It's a tight schedule.
It really is. Now, those of you who are listening who are from Dayton, Ohio, I would compare this to the musicians co-op that we used to have at Canal Street Tavern back in the day, and I know that's beloved and missed by many of you. And I would also compare it to the Showcase Thursday that we have at Yellow Cab. It's that kind of vibe. So just to give you the feel, that's what it felt like to me as a visitor who didn't know anybody in the room. So I want to ask Brenda, how long have you been hosting that particular open mic at the Highland Park Bowl? Hey, this is Mike, your host. In post-production, dropping in a little edit here. Since Brenda and I have had this conversation, the people at Highland Park Bowl have decided that they no longer wish to have music in their establishment. So it's very sad, and I'm crushed for Brenda and for Bree and for all the musicians that I met there. That's their place. That's their haven where they could go share their art every week. And now they don't have a place to go do that at the moment. And to all the folks that enjoyed playing there and attending, if you're listening, that's really tough news. And I'm sorry. And I hope that you find a place to get the open mic back up and going so that you all can share your art with the community. So that's the background. Again, this information came out after Brenda and I had this conversation. And let me get back to Brenda talking now.
Yeah. So at Highland Park Bowl specifically, since late 2018, but that's actually the second incarnation of the open mic. It started at a venue in Echo Park called the Lost Night in 2016, January of 2016. And it was there for 2.5 years. And the venue got sold and bought by people who decided to completely refurbish and change it completely and not have music again and turn it into some bougie stuff. And then I ended up finding Highland Park Bowl as the new home for it. So it was there for, I guess it was a year and a half before the shutdown. And then the shutdown, obviously. And then we reopened in August of 2021. So we've been going for like almost another year and a half now. So it's been there 3 years without, just as far as like actual literal opening, but 2018 is when we started there.
Congratulations. And I hope you keep it up.
Thanks.
I have never, ever listened to music played live in a bowling alley before. So that was
And to everyone listening, if you do want to come and you find yourself out our way, it's not in the literal part of the bowling alley.
It is not.
We're in a separate room that has like its own like windows and doors and stuff, that it's like inside of this really cool historic building that was built in the very, very, very early 1900s, and has a really long history of being a music venue. In like the punk rock days and like the 80s, it was known as Mr. T's Bowl, where it was still a bowling alley, but it was a really renowned punk rock venue where a lot of famous people have played, which is cool. And now it's the thing that it is now, ever changing.
It's awesome. So I would like you to describe the process by which somebody plays this, because there's a whole lot of different ways to do an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to one done the way that you all do it, and I know that I will explain it wrong if I try to describe it. So I would like you to please describe it for me.
Okay. I mean, it's really easy. And I've, as a musician myself, and a musician and artist first and foremost, hosting this open mic is my version of doing community service, which is why I do it. It's just to hold space for people. I call myself a professional space holder, to just sit there and stare at people and give people an audience to express themselves. So, but as a musician, I've traveled a lot and toured a lot across the country, and I've been to a lot of different open mics in the process, just out of curiosity, especially when I'm in a city I haven't been in before. So I took a lot of different like pieces from other open mics that I had been to create mine. And I'm all about like efficiency, and it's obviously changed as it's become more popular and more people come in. So basically, it's a queued thing. It's a real life thing. There's no call in, text in, email in. Like, I'm old school AF. So you have to physically be there in the flesh, and you physically queue up and line up. And you purchase something to support the venue, because otherwise the venue is not going to exist and shut down. And that's how that happens. So the community needs to come in and at least like offer a contribution. And like, we do that by way of me, like of getting a drink, of getting food or something like that. So it's not like people are paying a ticket fee or paying me. It's that they're paying to keep the place open, which I think is totally cool and totally fair and worthy. And then people get a number from the bartender, and then they sign up with that number. And those numbers are really just a receipt for me to keep track of how many people have signed up, because we can only fit 30 people in one night. And I say only 30, but that's a ton of people. And then once people sign up and everything's done, we literally dump all the numbers out and stir them up. And then I just pull them out one at a time and like pick that actually becomes the literal order. So it's a random draw, and then no one knows when they go, and everyone just stays and hangs out.
And how long does each performer get?
Each performer, as long as there's more than 20 people who perform, which is almost always, but there has been times when there's been less, and I do get, this is not necessarily the case, but most often it is one song, 5 minutes, one song.
But Brenda, what if my song is 6.5 minutes long?
Then you shouldn't play it.
But Brenda, what if I have a story to tell and it takes me 4.5 minutes to tell the story?
Then you told your story, you play a 60-second song and you get the fuck off the stage. Because the thing is like,
yes.
I have 6.5 minute songs myself, 7-minute songs that I've never played at the open mic ever. Especially, again, we're in Los Angeles, and this is a city renowned for its egotism and narcissism. And for me, I was like, what a great opportunity and experiment to challenge people to not be there for themselves, to like be there, because the people who are there for themselves, they can't hang, and they end up leaving. They're like, like, when do I go? Like, or I can't be up here for 15 minutes. And part of me is like, go book a show. Yeah. You want to be on stage for an hour, go work and book a show. This is just an open mic. This is just a platform for you to express yourself momentarily, to meet people, to get out of your head, to be present in a moment. And that's the gift of music in general, is just get you out of your head and be present, right? Yeah, so that's why I set it up the way that I did. It's like you have a moment to have the stage, have the spotlight, and express yourself, but also to be a space holder for others who also want to do that. You know what I mean? And meet someone that you don't know, like you.
Yeah, you guys keep it moving. I like that. What else I like, you borrow baseball terms.
Yes, I do.
So somebody's gonna play. The next person, you announce their name. This person's on deck. Yeah. The next person, you announce their name. This person's in the hole.
In the hole.
That gives somebody time to tune, to figure out what song they're gonna play, to puke if they're super nervous. Whatever.
Right.
I thought it was really well run. Here's what else I thought. And So I'm a Midwesterner, and people from this part of the country, we could not be more different than Angelinos. It's like I don't feel at home at all in Los Angeles. It's just a completely different vibe for me. Like whatever, I like visiting. It's just not for me. But that room felt like home to me.
Oh,
From like I was like 2 minutes into being in there, just in the line to go buy my drink so I could put a number into play, chatting to the people behind me in line. It reminded me of the really good open mics from here. Everybody in the audience was very supportive of all the musicians, as it should be, right? When it's time for the musician to play their song, people shut up and they were respectful. If somebody was nervous and made that comment, they got support. If somebody made a mistake, they got support. It was, I told Bree, I feel like that these are my Los Angeles people. I felt like this is a place I could come in the city and not feel like I don't belong here. And then I got a chance to play in front of like, you know how it is. You go to an open mic and like you see four people who are awesome. You're like, man, I gotta follow those people. It's just like, so it's really hard. But I really enjoyed watching everybody. I enjoyed playing. The next time I'm in LA, if I'm around on a Tuesday night, I'm totally going. Like it's gonna be appointment, assuming you guys are still running it. So,
oh yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
A good time. You're welcome.
It's awesome.
I'm so glad you had a good time, man.
And those of you out there who write songs understand how important it is to build community around events like this. It's just nice to see. Again, you mentioned people out there tend to be a little narcissistic and self-promoting, and it's tough, and that's not the vibe at all in that room, and that's why I felt comfortable there. So how cool is it that you get to go do that every week, even when you're tired, I guess? But
oh, yeah. It's definitely, I don't think everyone could do it. I do want to acknowledge my uniqueness because I've literally never missed a week ever.
Nice.
I don't even know how that's possible. Like even when I go on tour, that's not true. I've missed a couple over the 5 years that I've been doing it, obviously. But like since we've reopened, I haven't missed one. I haven't missed 1 week at all. It's wild. Good. Even if I don't feel like super great, I just wear a mask. I'm like in there, just don't take my mask off or something. But I always show up because I know that that's partially why people are there, which is an interesting feeling. Because like your MC changes the vibe of the show. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's a profession.
Absolutely. And I really hope that people who play this event regularly listen to this, because I'm going to address you folks really quick. First, thank you for making me feel at home. Second, don't take Brenda's hard work for granted. Like it takes a lot to show up every week like that and be enthusiastic and keep it moving and be organized. I know it takes a lot of energy. Y'all should probably buy her a drink or give her a hug next time.
Thank you.
All right. So more warm and fuzzy stuff. You are a musician, as we talked about. You're about ready to drop a record. You're going to drop an album called Cognizance on January 9th, 2023.
Yeah.
Double vinyl. Talk to me about that.
Yes. It's my very first vinyl record that I'm pressing to vinyl. I knew it was the one. It's the best thing I've ever done. Everyone on it is so incredibly talented. And I really allowed myself to open up more and it was very expensive to do this. Let me preface that. But I was like, there's no rush. I want to do it right. And you know what I'm saying? I already waited this long because the shutdown had postponed the release and the making of this album. And so I almost had no choice, even if whether I had done 45 or 33 RPMs, like there was no choice. It was going to be more than 2 sides. But the fourth side, there's a bonus track that's 12 minutes long. It's an in-studio live jam with some seriously dope players from Los Angeles, musicians, instrumentalists. That's never going to be released digitally. So it's like a vinyl only analog live real experience that I'm really excited about. So that's what side D is. And then the album is side ABC. Yeah. That's awesome. Then digitally it comes out everywhere January 9th too. So all the people who are like, I don't do vinyl. That's totally cool. All the digital stuff will be all over the internet, all over everywhere on January 9th.
You just won't get the cool, sweet extra track or
you won't get the extra
big
track.
Artwork.
Yeah, that's true. Like the giant artwork. I will say that I am next year releasing a 6-inch by 6-inch lyric and photography book. So it's all the album cover art, all the single art, extra photos that aren't released online, as well as all the lyrics for the album. So that'll be something that if people want to like have like a physical thing to hold of like this insanely gorgeous artwork that I'm really grateful for, that Morgan Demeter shot most all of it, they can do that. They could buy a little 6-inch by 6-inch book. Yeah.
I like how you didn't just cut songs. Because, if you wanted to cut the length, you could always be like, all right, these 3 songs aren't going to make the record.
That's true.
Clearly you had an artistic vision and a sequence, and you're like,
yeah.
Even though it's super expensive.
Yeah, I was pretty attached to exactly the order, and it just had to be. It had to be what it is, and I didn't want to sit also on some of these songs any longer. To be honest, that's the musician's plight. I'm like, these need to be done and be out so I can move on and write new songs and carry on with my creativeness. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Think how good it's going to feel when you hold one in your hands, huh?
Oh, I already have them, babe.
You already have them.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Because, it's tough to get vinyl delivered at any. You must have put that order in like a year ago.
I put that order in early spring of this year.
Nice.
Yes. And this is only because I have been in the game a long time. And this album has been a really great opportunity for me to finally utilize all the things that I have learned. And one of those being how much time you should leave.
More than you think.
To do things right, especially as a solo individual person. I do think it's different if you have a label or if you have like a agency or like a team helping you out, but I don't. So as a solo individual person, like you're looking at from tracking to releasing the album and making all the merchandise and like everything that's in between that, mixing and mastering and scheduling and photography and all that stuff, 2 years. It'll be, less than 2 years. It'll be a year and 8 months. That's
almost
how
2
long,
years. That's
how long this whole thing is. I just really wanted to not pretend that I could do everything on my own, because you really can't. And I like brought in like the people that I think are the best or that are wonderful people to make it what it is. And I'm just really blessed and really grateful with how it came out. So yeah, the double vinyl thing is because it was just slightly too long to do a single vinyl. Like it's too long of a record. By like a year and a half, it was pushed back. We were all set to go into the studio top of 2020 when everything shut down. But we, you know what I'm saying? We got back on the horse and we kept riding. I was like, we're doing this.
Sounds like you're pretty happy with it.
I'm really happy with it. I am. Nothing's ever perfect, but I'm like way past the point of being a perfectionist. Like I really like I like the accepting exactly what it is and like letting go. Some people will drive themselves crazy being like, man, we should have done this. We should have done that. We should have done that. And I'm like, I like that, what it is. I'm really happy and proud of what it is. So I'm just like looking forward only, you know?
So we haven't talked about what kind of music you do.
We haven't.
And I mean, I could say it, but what I say might not be what you want people to hear. So
I want to hear what you think first, actually. That sounds fun.
We're a white girl doing black music.
That's basically.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Black music is the best music. That's all it comes down to. It just is.
Yeah, it's a little. You have the R&B pace and rhythms, very soulful voice. Whoever played bass on your record, I'm a bass player, so I always listen to that first. That dude's good, or lady.
He's insane.
Could be either. It's a dude.
Yeah.
Very good bassist.
He's my
grooves.
He's my top 3 favorite bassists in LA. He's absolutely insane. His name's Nick Campbell.
One of them's got to be Flea, right? So I mean, that's.
You're so funny. But he just released his own solo album today, actually.
Oh, nice.
Might as well give him a shout out.
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to have to Google that, so I'll make sure I listen to it. Nick Campbell,
so
like soup?
That's right, yeah. Nick Campbell. His project is called Nick Campbell Destroys. I'm sure he will not listen to this interview and won't even know I shouted him out.
That's fine.
But he's really great. And his album is like super modal, like jazz, like very like Thundercat, very Stones Throw records, like very, it might not be for everyone, but I think it's really incredible. It's really fun. It's really playful. And he's like a really talented jazz bassist specifically. So is everyone who played on my record are jazz musicians, who just were playing my, pop songs. Cause no matter what genre it is, if it follows like verse, chorus, et cetera, it's a pop song. Doesn't matter what subgenre it is. People like to avoid that word, but that's what that means. You're following a standard popular music pattern that was written and started like in the 30s. So that's all of that falls under pop music.
Well, you had a bunch of jazz musicians. Does that mean you had like 13th and 7th chords and like flat 11ths and crazy stuff?
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, those guys might get bored, right?
I don't think they'd get bored. I think they just love playing music, and they like playing good music. And I like to think that they agreed to play with me because they thought my music was good.
Well, yeah, if they didn't like it, they would have said no.
Yeah, that's true. But it's I like the primary gigantic umbrella of alternative soul as my genre, because I don't think that I'm on the nose R&B soul, so I don't like to claim that up front. I do think some of my songs are way more R&B soul than others, clearly. But with alternative soul, which is an ever-growing category and genre, really popular in UK and stuff too, it's just like a new type of R&B soul, and it's like a little, like it's got a little edge, and it's got a little bit of like rock in it. It's got like some stuff going on where it's not exactly there, but the roots are clearly and obviously R&B soul, neo soul, funk, jazz, R&B. But then I also like really love trip hop, and I really love prog rock, like progressive rock. And I really love I'm a 90s person, so, like can't pretend like I wasn't influenced by grunge and alt rock, and additionally super like clickety clackety R&B from the 90s, like super pop R&B. It's all in my brain stirring around. So
yeah, and we are the summation of our influence, of the things we hear as artists.
Absolutely.
So I think your strategy is interesting on the release. As an old guy who likes albums, I find the thing where like kids only listen to playlists and singles weird. Like I still believe in albums, which is why I'm very glad that you made one.
Yes.
But because you're smart about marketing and the business with your experience, you put out 4 singles from the record.
Yes. Yep.
Before the rest of the record. Can you why did you do that?
Talk about patience, because the whole record was done, right? Everything's been done. It's just like, it is strategy. Again, I've been doing this a long time. So it's just industry standard to release singles. And it's not something that I've like really done. My last like really big studio album, I released the entire album all at once. And then I had singles by way of like having music videos and having press for like a specific song from the record, which is like common in an old school way. But I just thought it'd be a fun opportunity to kind of like leak it out and like spread it out over the course of the year. And we're still like the top of this year, it was still feeling like a little weird, I think, like pandemic-y wise or shutdown wise, in regards to getting fully back up to speed with like live shows, like, because we had another like baby shutdown here in January so it, you know what I mean? It just felt like the right thing to do. I didn't want to give the entire album away when things were still kind of weird and uncertain. So that was basically it. It just was like a creative thing. I wanted like a way to paint a picture to people who are like modern singles people of like the broader scope of the sonic, breadth on this album. So releasing like Party's Over, like, which is very big band, very 40s, 50s sounding, very like Ray Charles, very Aretha, very Carole King, very like has this very old school vibe, and like a 12-piece band. But then I also wanted to release like one that's like a little more modern, like Man of Mine, that just has like a 4-piece band, and it's like really classically neo soul and like pretty modern sounding, I think. And then I'm Sorry, which is a guitar track and a ballad. So release a ballad, release a guitar track, because there is some guitar on the album as well. So just kind of try to paint a picture, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, get people interested, I guess.
On the page for Man of Mine, you mentioned that neither do you write happy songs nor love songs, and that one is both. So how did you manage to do that?
Oh, you're so funny. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just in love.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I really primarily write songs about society and just observing the human condition, whether on the individual level or on the societal level, macro level, political perspectives. Like, this album has a really intense array of subject matter, but that song was just, it wrote itself. It was one of those few songs where I just sat down and it just, like, that song, Man of Mine, and Just Trying to Do My Thing, I wrote in the same month. And Just Trying to Do My Thing was my first single. Man of Mine was the fourth single for people out there who are interested. So I wrote them. I was just like in that vibe. I was just in that neo soul vibe. And I was just really grateful for my partner, you know, and it sounds like a very sex song, like very, very sexy song, but it's more about the love of commitment and the love of being seen and the love of being able to be yourself and not feel judged, and all those kinds of really big picture things that make partnership worthwhile, because it's hard, right? It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get started doing music?
I would give credit to my parents. I think partially I just was probably always singing and I showed interest in it. But I started in choir when I was like tiny. And also, again, I'm old enough out there that music was still very popular and normal in public schools.
Sigh of frustration. Me too.
Yeah.
I remember taking music class all the way through junior high.
Yeah. It's such a sad, unfortunate thing, but I'm really grateful there's a lot of nonprofits out there doing work to, you know, raise money and bring access to music to public schools that don't have that. Not charter schools, that's a whole other thing, but public schools. Like, back in the day, we all went to public schools. That was what was up, or private schools, right? There was no in between. But yeah, so we just had music programs, and I was really blessed to go to some schools that had some really incredible music programs. So I did choir, literally preschool, kindergarten, first grade, like did solos in front of like gigantic crowds and all that stuff. And then my first real instrument, if you want to say that, where I started learning sheet music, was clarinet. And I started that when I was like 7.5, 8 years old. And then I did clarinet and marching band and wind ensemble and all that stuff for 5 years. And then during all this time, my parents and I, we moved a lot. So it's like we moved new school, like 6 times during my childhood. So one of those moves, I just really wasn't connecting with the conductor. So I ended up switching back to choir, and I quit the clarinet permanently, basically. And then I did choir for all, like 8th grade, all of high school, all of college, did like competitive choir, touring choir, like, you know, super like robes, robes, full competitions, full traveling, all that stuff. And then, that's my start. I could ramble on forever, and then I was really blessed to have an upright piano in my house growing up. So I used to take my clarinet music, and it's in a different key for all my music nerds out there. It's a whole step down, but if it said C on my sheet, clarinet's B flat, concert B flat.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So it's like, it'll say C for a clarinet, but it's a B flat technically on piano. A lot of instruments have different tunings like that in orchestra. But if it said C, I would just play C on the piano. And that's kind of how I started tinkering around. And I started writing songs when I was like 10, 11, 12, like all up in there. So very grateful to just have access to piano, access to music in public school, all that stuff.
So these days, at least your album credits, keys and guitar seems like that's where you're at today.
Yes. Yeah.
Which one of those, when it's time to write a song, which one of those do you reach for first? Or let me rephrase the question. When it's Brenda's songwriting time, what's the first tool you reach for?
I would say I don't write songs on one and then bring it to the other instrument. So if it's a guitar song, it was written on a guitar song and I was playing guitar at the time, and same with piano. I do have far more comfortability and knowledge and whatever chops on piano. I would say I'm primarily a pianist because I've been playing it for just so much longer. But guitar is something I self-taught when I was in college, as a good college person should. No.
Oh, yeah.
And I was living in Long Beach at the time. So me, weed, and guitar were good friends at that point in time. But yeah, so I think it's both, and it just depends. I go through waves where I'm like over piano and I pick up guitar and I write some guitar songs, and then I get over that and go back. And sometimes not recently, because I'm in such a gigantic release cycle with Cognizance. But prior to that, I released like a digital album where I was just doing electronic beats. So sometimes I just get over making organic music and I'll just like tinker around with beats and stuff. Yeah, I try not to judge myself, and just, if I get over something, I try to let myself explore something else,
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out beats yet. Like, I know they're very popular and I know it's a thing, but like when I hear the word beats, I'm like, yeah, that's why I hire a drummer. He hits things. Right.
Definitely. Well, and drummers are the best. Like, those are the best beats. It's more like, I guess, as like a tool of self-expression. If you're not a drummer, you don't have access to a drum kit, and you want to just do something for fun, not even necessarily to release it or for people to know about it, but you're just wanting to mess around, so to speak. That's one of those things, some people, I mean, for me, at least, obviously some people, that's their full-time thing, but for me, it's just like a fun thing to mess around with.
So you mentioned the instruments. That makes it sound like you write the music first and then go back and add the words. Is that correct?
No, sometimes I don't have a pattern. I'm very grateful. Sometimes I just like a lot of singers, like the melody comes first, and I'll just like phone memo and be like while I'm driving, and just give myself a little note like that. Sometimes like I have a melody and like some words, and it's very vowel toned, right? So I'll just be kind of going, and there's no words. And then I'll listen to it and be like, kind of sounds like I said this sometimes, right? Sometimes I have a poem and I'm like, this poem needs to be a song. And so I like edit and work the poem into a song structure. Sometimes the piano comes first. So I've written songs every single way you can imagine. There's not like a way that I do it. Sometimes both happen at once. I'm just sitting there and the words and the piano happen at the exact same time. And in that regard, I like talking about this. That is what an actual literal singer-songwriter is. A lot of people think singer-songwriters are just like folk. We've gotten pigeonholed with that phrasing to mean folk music. But singer-songwriter really does mean that the singer and the instrument are entwined in one, and it's really organic and effortless for them to do both at the exact same time. Like, it's not just that they write songs and they sing, it's that they play an instrument and sing, and it comes out of their heart and out of their soul at the exact same time. Like, they're connected. That's a real singer-songwriter.
I find that approach interesting, and my vocal coach is going to get on me for saying this because, I always say I'm not a singer. She's like, stop saying that. It's true. I mean, I sing, but I guess that makes me not a singer-songwriter, because getting the melody out of myself is like pulling teeth. Not really a skill that I have. And, first of all, I'm a bass player. Never learned how to play guitar. I did take piano lessons when I was in my late 30s. Actually, I was about your age when I started taking piano lessons. You're never too old to learn something new, right?
Definitely not. No.
And what that did for me is the concepts I already had from music from playing bass were just, it's the same thing. It's just arranged differently, right? But man, very rarely does the melody come to me while I'm fooling around with the music.
Mm-hmm.
I feel jealous that you have the gift that it all arrives to you at the same time.
Aw, don't be jealous, man. I can't play the bass, and I think the bass is the best instrument ever.
I think you can. you might end up playing it like a guitarist. Some people who are guitarists.
I literally can't at all.
Really?
I can do, again, I have extraordinarily high standards for what I think bass playing is. So when I say I can't play bass, I mean, I can't play bass the way I expect someone to play bass.
Well, that makes more sense.
But what I can do is I can go, but
that's fun, isn't it?
It is fun. It is fun. I would be a good punk rock bass player.
Now, well, if you're hanging out with jazz bassists, I can't play that stuff either. That's
they're so good.
They're so good. Yeah, I mean, I like to listen to jazz, but like when I think about playing it, I'm just like, no, I'd rather just go write a song. My chops are such that I know enough about music to songwrite, and I'm just gonna go do that instead of learning how to play better.
Right. You're so funny.
Yeah, we do what we can with the tools that we have, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that you're a much better pianist than guitarist, but sometimes you decide to write on guitar. Well, what that's gonna mean is you have certain limitations because that's not your first instrument. But having a limitation could in and of itself lead you to a creative path that you otherwise would not have taken.
Yeah, that's true. It's just a totally different sound. Yeah, definitely.
That's one of the things I like about talking to other songwriters, right? Because we all do the same thing, kind of, but none of us do it the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what makes it like it's never a boring conversation with other songwriters.
Yeah, it's like noses. We all have them, but they're completely different and unique.
That is so true. Of course, you live in Los Angeles, so it is possible to get the same nose as everyone else there.
Oh, wow.
If you tried.
I guess that's true. That's weird.
Now one of the reasons I feel kind of out of whack there is just like, this place is different.
That's really funny. That's only on one side of Los Angeles.
Okay.
Los Angeles is so huge. Like if you're not from here or have never been here, it's just gigantic. And much like other places on the planet, like the only confusing thing about here is you can't tell where one city starts and one city stops.
I had no idea.
Tell. Right. But each city within the LA greater area is its own culture, its own vibe, its own flavor, like completely different way of talking, completely different interests, different way people dress. Like it's super noticeable. So the kinds of people you're talking about with the cute thing is the other side of town than I live on.
Okay. And it also takes 3 hours to get from one city to the next, which is really...
You're hilarious. That's not true, friends out there. You just got to know when to drive.
If you're going anywhere in Los Angeles, allow 4 times as much time as it would take in a normal place.
It depends on where you are. If you're by the beach trying to go to the center, like to Hollywood, yeah, you're screwed. You're completely screwed. But if you live on the east side, and you're trying to get in, it's so much better, so much easier. It's a blessing. I love where I live.
Did you grow up there?
I grew up in Ventura County,
so yes.
Which is the next county north of LA. So it's technically 2 hours north of here. So no. And then
2 hours, that's like 17 miles, right?
No, literally 110 miles north of here, like literally. So no, I didn't grow up in the city of LA at all. But I grew up in Ventura County, and then I grew up partially in the very north San Fernando Valley, but it's not like the valley part of people knowing the valley. It was deeper where there's horses and hills and stuff.
So you already mentioned something about how you started singing when you were tiny.
Yeah.
This is a question related to that. Think as far back as you can remember, what's the first song that you can ever remember hearing in your life?
Whoa. I have no idea, dude. Do people remember things like that?
I do.
What is yours?
So you are exactly the second person to ask me that, and I'm glad you asked. So I've been asking that question on my podcast for the last 3 or 4 months, and no one has ever said, oh, what was yours? But the person that I talked to right before you asked me.
Oh, wow.
For me, it was Babe by Styx. Are you familiar with that song?
I am familiar with the band. I can't recall the song by title.
That particular song came out in 1979.
Okay. You got to just sing it. Let me know if I know it. Go for it. Give me 8 bars.
You, babe. I actually don't know the words. I just know that one hook.
Do the melody. Do the melody.
Da, 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 da,
I think I've heard it. Wow. I don't get how you could ever remember that. I feel like the first thing I remember singing is just me being like, little girl, I'm making up stuff. I think little girls are constantly singing. If you know any little girls,
I don't.
They're constantly la-la-laing. Like when they're 2 and 3, that's just all they do is like sing and play with toys and like do imagination games. Like I work with kids a lot too. So I find that a common thread with a lot of little girls. So I imagine that first thing I sang was probably improvisation.
Oh.
But I can't remember being really tiny and singing, but I mean, I very much like when I was born, like was obsessed with Disney movies because I was part of the Disney revitalization of the 90s, the 80s and 90s. So I clearly remember constantly singing Part of Your World by Little Mermaid.
I don't think I know that one.
Part of your world.
Definitely don't know that one.
I want to be where people are.
I don't ever watch Disney movies.
Well, that one, I'm sure a million people out there who are listening definitely know that. So I used to sing that all the time. Just all like A Whole New World, like all the Disney movies I was
that
really
one I know.
Singing. Yeah. And then was like really, my mom loved and loves Barbra Streisand.
Oh man, my mom loves Barbra Streisand. And I never understood it.
So
I've never liked her voice or her songs. But my mom loves her so much.
Well, but when you're a little girl, like anyone who's singing pretty, if you like singing, I mean, like you're gonna just sing it because you're like, it's pretty and you're little, you don't have taste yet. You're just like someone's singing and it's music and it's great. So I remember singing Barbra Streisand. I remember singing the songs from the Phantom of the Opera because that first came out.
Mom had that on vinyl
in the early 90s. Yeah, my mom had that on CD, and I remember singing like the Phantom of the Opera with my mom in the car when I was like 5 or 6, however old I was. And then as far as like pop music, like definitely remember singing like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston and Janet Jackson. I remember very clearly just being obsessed and thinking they were just so amazing and so beautiful and so talented.
It's bringing me back to my junior high and high school days since I'm a few years older than you. Well, so the weird thing is I don't remember a lot of the words of that song. The melody verse I sang, what I da for you was the chorus.
Yeah.
But I remember the verse too. And I had to look up what year it came out on the previous podcast I just recorded.
Okay.
So now I remember because I just looked this up a couple hours ago. That record came out in 1979.
Wow.
I would have been 1 and change for most of 1979. I was born in November, right?
So young.
So my parents had to have had it on vinyl.
Crazy.
Because they played it enough that I remembered it. I didn't learn the band or the name of the song till I was an adult.
Wow.
But like
That's wild.
But it's like seared into my head, which is why I asked that question, because I figure somebody else out there has probably got this song that has been branded onto them by their youth.
Right. That's so interesting.
Not the kind of band I would listen to given my choice, by the way, now that I'm grown and I know about them.
Styx is cool.
They're all right, but, I wouldn't.
I think they're cool.
I mean, that's a good song. Come Sail Away is a good song. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That one?
So funny.
Music is weird the way that it affects our memory.
Yeah.
All right,
music, sound and smells.
Oh, that's a great segue, because my next question is, what did your childhood smell like?
Wait, really?
Really? Now that question is not mine. I stole it from another podcast here in our town, and that podcast met an untimely demise. Rest in peace, Jim City podcast. That was a question I loved when he would ask that question. So now I stole it. So
I feel like these questions are making me feel not artistic or sentimental because I don't remember. I don't remember at all.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think scent is like that huge for me. Like the only way that scent affects me is when I smell it again. When I smell it again, I'll have a recall, but I don't have like a smell that's at the forefront of my mind that I'm like, that's exactly home. I'd have to smell it first and then memories would rush back into my head.
That makes sense.
But I mean, I can remember like This is so random. Oh my God. So
Random is good. It makes you feel like a real person.
Well, so I try using all non-scented, non-perfumed, clothes washing detergent and
You
all
have an
things like
allergy
that.
or sensitivity?
No, but there's been a lot of proof and studies about fragrance causing like tremendous amounts of cancer, and you wonder why so many people have cancer. So that's just one of many things. So if you ever see fragrance on a bottle of lotion or on Febreze spray or in your detergents, there's a lot of very accessible research about causes of fragrance directly correlating to cancer.
Well, I feel like your entire state is cancer, because everywhere I go in California, there's a sign that says the area you're in is known by the state of California to make you have cancer. And I'm like, every time I'm out there, I'm like, this whole state is cancerous. Yeah, you don't even notice, do you? It's part of your daily life.
That's completely inaccurate, because our state has some of the best and largest wildlife and preserved and protected wild spaces that are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles big.
You've got the Sequoia Forest, which I haven't been to. You've got Yosemite, which I proposed in Yosemite.
We have more wild nature that is like trees, forests, mountains, waterfalls than a lot of states in our country. So that's actually not true.
I'm gonna see if I have a picture of that, because maybe it's just your cities, and obviously every state has different laws. There are no signs like that in Ohio. I guess here our government is content to poison everyone and just not tell us.
Anywhere where there's cars and industry, which
right.
California doesn't have much industry, but you guys do.
Yes, we do.
You have far more industry.
Not as much as we used to.
Yeah. But as far as like smell, so point of the story is I use non-scented stuff. But I do remember, because like in the 80s and 90s, nobody knew anything. We were all poisoning each other, inventing like really crazy preserved foods. Like I just talked about this the other day on like another podcast, actually, about like how messed up the food was. Childhood food of my generation.
Mine too.
Like hot dogs, Lunchables, Skittles, like Gushers, like whatever. It's soda. It's some really jacked up stuff. But anyway, point of my story is part of that was like, Dawn fabric softener and like Tide and all this stuff. But I do clearly remember my mom, like when the laundry was done, I would love to lay on my bed and she would pour all of the freshly washed, like still hot out of the dryer laundry onto me. And I can remember the smell of like Bounce, that's probably what it was. I remember
those are the sheet things.
Yeah. So I can remember like just the way laundry at my parents' house smells, but there isn't my family is so clean and doesn't really wear perfumes. Like I didn't have hippie parents that had like incense and like smell, like aromas going on all the time. So I feel like we were a pretty non-smelling household versus like my partner's parents, like his mom's like candles, incense, lotion, smells like constantly. And like they're cooking all the time. And like, I think he probably grew up in a household that has more smell memory than my household.
That makes sense. Scents, SCENTS. Nerdy word pun. That was really bad. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, when I answer that question, I say books, because we had books. You open a book, there's a smell. Absolutely. There always is. And absolutely. I always had books around as a child.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's true what you say about the way we ate. I would like to go tell 19-year-old me to eat the way I do now.
Right.
Like the last 10, you can't tell from looking at me, but the last 10 or 15 years, I've definitely made much better choices in what I decide to put in my body.
Yeah, that's good.
But like
we know more
me,
now.
Yeah. Like 18-year-old me, like, 8, 9 Mountain Dews a day. And it's just like, I look back on that and being like, oh no. No.
Right. That's so funny. I just think a lot of it is just we know a lot more stuff now. And that's a big part of it. And some people, again, there's a lot of people from the older generations who did have parents who were really food conscious and healthy and stuff. But I think just like the vast majority of us weren't. And like reflecting back on my childhood, like I had really bad acne and I'm like, was so depressed and we're like topical and like drying and dehydrating and like poisoning our skin. And then meanwhile, I was just like, eating like gallons of ice cream all the time and eating like just sugar in Lunchables and I'm like, I wonder what was causing the acne. Really, was it really my hormones, or was it more likely how jacked my diet was and how much sugar there was in it, processed sugar?
Yeah, it's like little things. I was gonna say, like pasta sauce. When I first got married, my wife doesn't cook.
Okay.
Her dad, professional cook, graduated from the CIA. So she grew up and not needing to.
Wow.
Right? So I do all the cooking, which is fine. But I remember us having a discussion over pasta sauce because she would just go ahead and buy the stuff in the jar. And I'm like,
right.
The second ingredient in jarred pasta sauce is high fructose corn syrup. Why does your pasta sauce taste like it needs to go on pancakes?
Yeah.
And there are very few, quote, hills I'll die on, but making my own pasta sauce out of just like a canned tomatoes that don't have
right. There's a lot of sauces that don't have high fructose corn syrup in it, by the way.
Nowadays there are.
Yeah. It's just Prego and like all those old
Prego, ragu, all the
ragu, that's the one. Yeah. And also just added sugar. We try to avoid added sugar in things. Like if you're eating a dessert, then whatever. You're like,
it's supposed to have sugar.
It's supposed to have sugar, right? But like if you're eating like crackers and chips,
no need,
and pasta sauce and bread. Okay, so this is a weird one, and it's again, especially because of my partner who just walked in. That's why I'm looking over there.
Hello.
My partner has really averse blood sugar level reactions to like having a lot of processed sugar. But it's great because it's helped me reflect on processed sugar when I'm buying groceries. It's something like you just need a little introduction to it, and you're like, holy crap. But one of the things is bread. Bread in the United States, look at the bread next time you buy bread and be like, why is there 8 grams of added white granulated sugar in bread, in wheat bread?
So we totally don't buy bread unless it's from an actual baker.
Amazing.
I'm weird like that.
Okay, that's not weird. That's incredible.
You can't tell from looking at me because I'm fat, but we actually eat pretty well.
Stop it.
Yeah, bread should only have 4 things. And this is one of the things the French get right. I read an article last week that the United Nations declared the French baguette like a UNESCO heritage thing.
Right.
Which I don't know why it took them so long, because these people fought a revolution over the price of them. And to this day, the price of baguettes is regulated by their government.
Amazing.
But by law, it can only have 4 things: flour, yeast, water, salt.
Right.
Sugar is not one.
Yeah.
But like, why would you need your bread to be sweet unless you were trying to make donuts?
Right. If it if it's like a known thing, but it's just what we do in America, which is, but again, like you can find breads in the United States that are in groceries that don't have added sugar, but it just takes a little time of flipping things over and like learning, right? It takes a little effort, but and one example is like Jewish rye bread, no added sugar ever. It's just like it's just a thing. It's mostly obviously white breads and like wheat bread, but there's some wheat breads that don't have it. You just got to read. just take a moment. Yeah, it's worth it.
So, dear listener, we'd like you to be healthier because then you could live longer to listen to our records.
Yeah, I know. No one expected we talk about sugar and bread today on this music podcast.
But we totally agree with this. This is like something that we obviously feel strong. Look, food is delicious, and I would like to continue being healthy enough to eat it. I don't ever want a doctor to be like, you can't eat that, right? So like,
that's funny.
It's worth it to me to eat the quality of food enough so that I can live longer to eat more food.
That's amazing. I love that. Snake biting its tail.
Yeah. But so you're apparently into food too. I'll have to have you back at some point, and we'll have a food podcast.
Okay, I am into food. I think it's very fun and very incredible, and I'm a mostly adventurous eater. Mostly adventurous?
What will you not eat? Do you know what you will not eat?
I'll eat any sauce, like spice, curry flavor, whatever like that. It's just I prefer not to have shellfish ever.
I got you. You allergic?
No, don't like it. Don't get it. I'll
eat yours. I love it.
Okay.
I have a rule, especially when I travel, because in a past life I used to do a lot of travel for my job, and also when traveling for leisure. Mm-hmm. I'll eat anything one time.
Right.
Maybe not a second time.
Same.
But especially if I'm at somebody's house and they're cooking for me, I'm not gonna be like, I'm not eating that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll eat everything one time too, for the most part.
But if I'm like, nah, then the second time just is not, it's not going to happen. So I told you this when we were first setting up the schedule for this podcast, but we are talking on December 9th, which is exactly 1 month till your record comes out.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Cognizance being released on January 9th. Double vinyl, which we already talked about. This podcast is being released, assuming that I don't do something stupid and mess up my schedule, on Friday, January 6th.
Okay.
So, dear listener, in 3 days, let me make sure I had that right on the calendar.
Yeah.
I don't want to like say this wrong.
That is what you told me. I remember.
I did say I want to make sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. In 3 days, this coming Monday. So you've got tomorrow, Saturday the 7th. We're going to pretend this is January 6th.
Yes.
Tomorrow, Saturday the 7th.
And then
the day after, Sunday the 8th. On Monday the 9th, that is when
my album
Cognizance will be out on streaming services.
And I should say this. So when it's January 6th, when y'all are listening to this beautiful podcast, you can still pre-order my album on Bandcamp before it comes out. And on Apple Music as well. It's those two. Obviously, I get more support if you order on Bandcamp. But on Bandcamp, you can pre-order the digital album or the vinyl record. So either way. So you still have a couple days to pre-order it so that when it goes live, it just ends up in your pocket. And then also, if you do pre-order it early, there is a bonus release track right now where you have access to hear another track from the album that's not out.
Is it not the jam? Is something surprising? You're going to hold something? It's
not the jam. No.
Oh,
that's
nice.
only on the vinyl. That won't be digitally anywhere. Like I was sharing, it's just a analog experience. But no, there's another song from the album. It's called This Damn Place. And if you pre-order my album on either Apple Music or Bandcamp digitally, you get that track as like an early thank you for pre-ordering. So I've set that up for you. Yeah.
If you have a turntable, go ahead and get the double vinyl, because on Bandcamp that comes with the digital, right? So you get both. Absolutely.
Yep. That's right.
Because Brenda's an independent artist, that means she is her own fulfillment and shipping department.
Yes.
Which is also a whole lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's all a lot of work.
But she will do it with a smile because it means that vinyl is coming to you.
Yeah, and it's the first vinyl I've ever made. I'm so excited about it. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. The photography is gorgeous. I mean, it's a piece of art sonically and visually. Very excited about it.
I'm going to get a copy. So you should also get a copy.
I'm really hoping that Bandcamp does and continues Bandcamp Friday next year. They haven't announced if they're going to.
They have not announced they're going to.
Yeah, but I really hope that they do. And if they do, what is the first Friday of January?
It is January 6th. The day this goes out. So if Bandcamp is doing it, this would be up.
That would be the day. Yeah, it'll be the day. I'm hoping that they do. Because they've got nothing to lose. Why not? It makes them look good, and people tag them and talk about them a lot. So it's good press for them.
It is, from a marketing standpoint. It's a no-brainer. And look, it's not like they're waiving their 15% fee every day.
No. Yeah.
So other than BrendaCarseyArt.com.
Yes.
And also Brenda Carsey. That's BrendaCarsey.bandcamp.com. Where can people find you if they want to catch up with you on the internet?
On all of the streaming platforms, it's Brenda Carsey. And then on all social media, it's Brenda Carsey Art, every single thing. So I have consistency. It's very easy to find me. But yeah, TikTok, unfortunately, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, and then every sonic streaming platform I'm on there. YouTube, I genuinely love sharing live performance videos and music videos. So if you're into seeing stuff, why not? Go explore.
Outstanding. Any final message for our lovely listeners?
Let's see. Since Cognizance is coming out at the beginning of a new year, I think it's a great way to start your year because the album is about awareness and growth and reflection and being your best self. And what a better time of year to listen and receive those messages and at the beginning of a new year. And do something unique and different for yourself for the year.
Excellent. Hey, Brenda, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me. I appreciate it. And thank you for being such a wonderful open mic host.
Thank you.
And gracious and kind to visitors who had never seen you before. I really do appreciate that.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thanks again to Brenda for talking to me. Hey, folks, go get Brenda Carsey's new record, Cognizance, this Monday, January 9th. Stream it if you're a person that streams. Order it on Bandcamp. If you're a person that uses Bandcamp, you will definitely not regret it. Thank you very much for listening to the You Could Be My Aramis podcast. Have a nice weekend.